welcome to They Think It's All Sober, the legendary Mr. James Newman.
Thank you very much.
Hello, mate.
How you doing, all right?
Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Well, no, before we start, let's talk about your journey this morning, because Tom was like, James can make 9 o'clock. And I was like, what a legend. I thought you might live 20 minutes, 30 minutes up the road. Where have you come from?
The Isle of Wight, sorry.
Mate, that is dedication.
Hang on, I didn't know there was an option to do a later slot.
No, there wasn't. There wasn't. 9 was the only slot.
Right,
9 was the
enough.
only slot.
That
But
makes
like,
sense.
so what time did you have to get up?
I had to get up at 3:30 and there's no foot ferry at that time, so I had to get the car ferry. Then set off driving, then bailed, and then got the train. So,
Mate, what a journey. Well, thank you
No,
you so much
That
for...
is pure dedication.
yeah, he's made it. We're here. It's bright and early, and we're here to talk about all things sober. And I think, we're really grateful for you coming on, because we were chatting maybe a month ago when you'd hit a month sobriety, and we were thinking it'd be amazing to get a guest in like the infancy of their journey. And you're now 2 months today.
2 months.
Hell yeah, baby.
Today
Yeah,
it's worked
amazing.
out really good.
So yeah, we'll get into all of that stuff, because I think like for all of our listeners, but especially the sober curious listeners, to get like an in-depth like synopsis of like a bit of a timeline of the last 8 weeks, like what's been great, what you've been up to, what the kind of like challenges and struggles have been, and what your kind of life looks like moving forward. So we'll get into all of that very shortly.
Nice.
But in true They Think It's All Sober fashion, we are gonna take you back in time. So just to get a bit of an idea, because you've had an amazing journey, like an amazing music career, and we know each other from working on a lot of stuff, and I think it'd be good to step back and get a bit of a timeline of like your relationship with alcohol over the years and how it's looked. So, Jamie, time machine, my liege.
It's always difficult at 9 a.m, baby.
And we're back. We're back. And
In the Dales.
Young
Back
James
in
in
the
the Dales.
Yorkshire Dales, times were hard.
The Yorkshire Dales. So, I guess like, what were your sort of first memories of alcohol just growing up?
Well, we grew up in like the Yorkshire Dales, and it was like a really rural place. My village was 300 people. The town down the road, which was the big town, was 2,000 people. So, and it was
Wow.
it's really like at the time you felt it was like, it was a big place, but it was really cut off from everything. There's not really much to do, like unless you were like out on the hills. But as teenagers, like we'd just hang around and you'd just you'd smoke Regals and drink bottles of White Lightning and stuff at like 14 and get absolutely smashed because there was literally nothing to do. So like I think from a really early age we started drinking a lot and getting absolutely blotted. The first time I drank was actually we'd nicked a bottle of whiskey from my mate's dad's house, and we went camping, and it was down the bottom of this massive hill, and I drank way too much. I couldn't see, like they had to call an ambulance. No. And then they managed to get me nearly to the top of the hill like my mates, and then one of my mates was like, if you fall over again I'm going to kick you down the hill, and I did, and then he booted me down the hill.
Oh my
and they were like,
God.
why have you done that?
Just like blackout drunk.
Who needs enemies?
17 stone guy stuck at the bottom of the hill steaming, and I woke up in hospital, and that was my first time of drinking, and that was like
shit.
14. So like,
So your first time of drinking was actually pretty traumatic.
yeah, it was a full on
So you skipped. You didn't even no ciders, no beers, just straight
nothing.
whiskey.
No, just straight in hardcore.
In at the deep end.
First
Wow.
time I ever tasted booze was down in whiskey. I think it's probably set me off on a bit of a bad.
Yeah.
So what were the repercussions of that being 14? Like, what were your parents like?
My
Did they go
mum-
nuts?
Yeah, my mum was like a single parent, so she was not happy, and like woke up with her looking at me in hospital like in a very angry Yorkshire mother kind of way,
shit.
But she was obviously like supportive and stuff. But it's like it's not a great start, is it?
What's really interesting actually is we've had a couple of guests on. I think Sarah Turner was the same. She grew up in Cornwall, didn't
Yeah.
she? And I think like it seems to be quite a common thing. And the same, like my mum grew up in Cornwall, and I think when you're from a small village and like you say, there isn't really a lot to do, you do look for like sources of entertainment and to like push the kind of boundaries out. We found it's quite a common theme for people that live there to go and do that. Maybe not, neck whiskey and end up
Yeah, there's like a scale there, right?
Yeah, some people.
but
take it
perhaps
easy.
like the pub culture, and there might be like one sort of like club that exists in like the sort of nearest bigger town.
Ours is the rugby club.
Right.
They do discos.
Well, there you go. So 14 whiskey hospital. How was your timeline then? Because we always say like for most people it's like the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's normally like a fun period. Like, was there a fun patch of drinking when you were growing up? And
yeah, I think like obviously like kind of all that period from like 14 to going to uni, like just in my town, it was, you know, I was still trying to do like music and I was trying to be an actor and stuff like that.
Right.
But it wasn't like, you know, it was like innocent drinking apart from the whiskey downing.
yeah,
Apart from but you went ugly, good, bad, ugly.
But you just kind of like, you're so young and you're just figuring stuff out, aren't you? But I think when I got to uni and stuff, it was really fun.
Yeah.
And like, I went to Newcastle College. So it was pretty like full on, like,
Yeah.
you know.
And was
hardcore.
that quite an awakening going from the small village that you were into
Like
Newcastle city centre?
The first day I went to get the bus from like my hall's residence into town. I'm stood by the bus stop, and in my town, sometimes a bus would arrive to take you down to the bigger town one day.
yeah.
And then I'm like stood at the bus stop, and they're like, "Oh, here comes my bus," and it just went past, and I was like, "What?" And then the next one comes and it just went past, and this old lady was like, "Are you waiting for the bus, pet?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You've got to put your hand out to stop it." And I was like,
Life's lessons.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was definitely. I mean, it was a cultural shock moving there. Like Newcastle's such a crazy place, and it's like it's a university town, so it's all based around boozing and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
it was definitely, you know, like learning fast about the world very quickly.
For sure. And in the timeline of like all of the music stuff that you were doing, where was that in your life when you were at uni? Were you writing a lot of the time? And
Yeah, I was doing popular music HND.
Right.
So I was like, kind of that was what all I wanted to do really. I had a band, and so at uni I started doing the HND, did that, and then we started doing the jazz degree in popular commercial music. And I was like, I'm not a jazzer. Like, I can't even play an instrument. Like, I'm just a singer. And then, but I had a band, and we got signed to Kitchenware Records on like a development deal, and I was like, right, that's it, I've made it. I'm quitting uni, so I quit uni, and then
uni.
And then we got dropped because we didn't develop. So like 4 months later, it's like, right, I've quit uni, and then my band's just been dropped. So, and then I was just working in a city centre bar, playing gigs around Newcastle with my bandmate Alan. Just trying to like, you know, make something happen basically.
Yeah. And how did alcohol play into that period? Because we always talk about, especially the infancy of bands and being a musician, often the currency of payment isn't money, it's booze. So, oh, come play a gig. Oh, there you go. There's 20 Fosters.
Yeah.
I guess kind of the bruise of being dropped per se, working in a bar and then still trying to make it. Like, how did alcohol play into that?
I mean,
period
alcohol
of
was a
time?
massive part of the whole thing. Like working in a bar, like you'd work 12 hours and then everyone would drink after, or sometimes you'd drink on shift and stuff, because it was like a trebles bar downstairs. So it was like 3 trebles for 10, 3 trebles and mixer for 10 quid. So 9 shots basically.
Jesus.
So that was like a lot of drinking. And then in my band, it was a folk soul band, but we thought we were like AC/DC, and we were just getting smashed all the time. My mate Alan was a Scottish guy, and like we'd get hammered and like batter each other and punch each other and stuff. It's like Yorkshire versus Scotland, kind of like absolutely steaming, like
UFC.
Yeah, like arguing, you know, like kind of proper band troubles, and we just be hammered, and like, you know, it was all so like turbulent and stuff.
In a genre which I would consider
and we're like, and then we're going on stage,
love making music.
yeah, and then we're going on stage singing these beautiful like folk songs, and Alan's got like a black eye, so.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I guess timeline wise, this is what, your like early 20s?
Yeah, early 20s, yeah.
Early 20s. And so I guess not too dissimilar to, I guess, most people really in that kind of like uni time, maybe moving out of uni, doing bar work. And I suppose we always say as well, like you're kind of a product of your environment as well. And especially even if there might be signs of like early, let's say, problematic drinking, it's very much disguised by the fact that everyone else is doing it around you. So you kind of instantly think, no, everything's fine. Like, matey boy's drinking, and like, you know, this is rock and roll. Like, that was certainly my philosophy when I was doing the band stuff. It was like, well, everyone else around me's fucked up, so I'm no different to them. When actually, you know, chuck me in a shift at Waitrose, everyone would be like, this guy's nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's
Trying to drive the bus.
So yeah, timeline wise, so where did everything go from here? Like, when did I suppose music wise, you know, going into writing and doing that kind of like because you did quite a lot of the early Rudimental stuff, right?
Yeah, so I got to a point where I was like, I need to leave Newcastle and move to London. I had a manager here who I'd met in Newcastle through Martin Brammer, who's a songwriter. Anyway, so I moved down to London and moved into like this kind of warehouse in like Haringey. It was like a creative.
What could go wrong?
No, it was absolutely mental. But that was even more cultural. Like learning about the world, because I'd moved to a warehouse in Haringey with all these kind of other like kind of creative people. It was just it was madness. But I moved here to basically be a songwriter and be an artist as well. And I was working in a pub in Finsbury Park. And actually, when I went for the interview, it was up a hill, and I cycled up the hill, and I thought, I might not go to the interview because I can't be arsed cycling up this hill every day. Anyway, I got there and I got the job, and then I started working with Piers from Rudimental's sister, Sophie.
In the pub?
In the pub, yeah.
Wow.
But this is before Rudimental were had anything. Then my brother John, he's a singer, he moved down to London, and he started working in the pub, and then he became friends with Piers and moved into their family house with them as like a lodger. And then they all did Feel the Love, which was Rudimental's first.
That's mad. So you made the pilgrimage down.
Yeah.
Your brother then makes a pilgrimage down.
Yeah.
You start working in a pub together that happens to be with Piers from Rudimental's sister.
Yeah.
And then you become friends with them and then have one of the biggest breakthrough drum and bass records of all time.
Yeah. And then I was like, and John played it to me, and I was like, oh my God, that is absolutely amazing. And I was like, I want to write something like that. So for like ages, I was like trying to think of like a hook line thing. And then I came up with this song called Waiting All Night, which was Rudimental's third single.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like, I was working in a restaurant and I was doing 50 hours a week, and then it came out, it was like Zane Lowe's hottest record on Thursday. And then the next week it was midweek #1. And I was like, finishing my last few shifts.
Yeah, nice.
And it's on the radio.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And then I finished my shift at lunchtime early, and I was doing like publishing meetings, like all within like a week of it turning around, because Piers rang me like an hour before it was Zane Lowe's hottest record and was like, oh, it's going to be on Radio 1 tonight. And
I think
was like,
people
oh my
don't realise with music that sometimes things take years, and sometimes, as you're finding out this week with your David Guetta record, things can just happen in like 3 or 4 days and just be like be magical.
Yeah.
But then what people also don't realise is, from a writing perspective, you don't really get paid any royalties for like 18 months because you're waiting for the collections, right? So how did that play into it? Because like you say, there must have been this almost like conflicting situation, because you're working 50 hours and then having a smash hit record. Were you kind of drawn into the lifestyle of like the pop world, but then still having to support yourself?
Well, I was lucky because obviously I had a midweek #1, and the publishing meetings went pretty fast. But I did have to work until
you signed,
until the money came into my bank. So I went from like having not much to having a quite a decent amount of money coming into my account. And then obviously I was like, right, from this moment on, I'm not going back to bar work or anything. This is it now. I'm a songwriter and stuff. So it was, I mean, I couldn't believe it happened to me, and I was like, fate really, like the universe aligned after so many years of trying. Because I was like 27, and I was like, you get to that point, you're like, oh God, this is a slog, like I'm not getting anywhere. But then it all just clicked, and then
mate, it's interesting because what you said, Jamie, is like when it can happen quickly, but it's like that whole iceberg philosophy, isn't it? Of like all of the groundwork that you've put in leads up to this like one moment where it clicks, and then suddenly it can happen really quickly like that. And it's amazing to see that it did happen. And let's talk about that moment then. So we've talked about this a lot, that success and celebration normally goes hand in hand with booze. How did that play out? Because did the record go #1?
Yeah, it's #1. It won the Brit Award as well the next year. So. And it beat my brother's song at the same time. Which is even better.
No sibling rivalry there at all.
No. Well, he's got statues of you in the Dale.
Yeah. No, he said at the Brits, he goes, don't worry, James, if I win, I'll give you a shout out. And then like docked his fag and walked in like he was Elvis or something. And then my song beat his, and I just texted him. I was like, I'll give you a shout out.
Sorry, John.
I love you. But...
Oh, mate, that's great. But how was that period of time then when that was going on? Was it pretty heavy?
Yeah, I think like looking back, like that was when you know, because you've got the money to kind of just do what you want and like indulge yourself, and you don't have that many responsibilities apart from turning up to write songs, and you're like, hey, rock and roll and stuff like that. So it just kind of like, you know, just drinking all the time and always going to like parties, and you're also like hustling, and you feel like you need to show up, and you need to be at kind of seen at these parties and in the right bars and the right clubs and stuff like that. So, and obviously like booze went hand in hand with it. So it just was always a massive, I'd always be going out, always getting smashed and stuff, and then always feeling rough, going to sessions like the next day feeling like absolute death. But like it didn't, you know, you didn't think, oh, I should stop doing this. You just kind of plowed through it.
It's such an odd thing in music, isn't it? Because we talk about this quite a lot. It's like it's so accepted and it's almost expected with success. And I think that notion as well, especially in songwriting world, where it's like, oh, we can start at midday or 1 and we can roll through till 6 or 7, but then when you finish at 6 or 7, pub.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, it's not like an art. I think artist touring is interesting because you get cyclical drinking happening there, but it's interesting on the writing session side because you don't think about that as being problematic with alcohol. You think about someone going in and being productive and writing a song.
Yeah.
But actually, a lot of the people we speak to from a songwriting perspective, it's a lot more habitual drinking than you realise.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot involved. I mean, not all the time, but yeah, it's so accepted. Like it's like, oh, should we go for a beer? Or like, you know, if it's not working out, just go to the pub. And, you know,
mate, sometimes you try and like crack the formula as well, because like, you know, some of the songs that I've written that have done well have been when I was fucked up.
Yeah.
And you kind of, I remember one session with we did with Becky Hill, Maverick Sabre, that there was miscommunication where the session actually started 4 hours later than we thought it was, and me and Sam had gone to the pub for a lunchtime beer before, just to kind of, you know, have a sharpen
just
before
to wet
the
the
session.
whistle.
And then she ended up being like an hour and a half or 2 hours late. So we'd essentially done like a 6-hour day drinking pub session before the session started. We were like 8 pints deep, and then we wrote like a fucking great song, and then in your head you're like, maybe do I need drink to be able to be creative and write? And that kind of played into my thought process as well. But yeah, then since stopping drinking, I've had like records like Anne-Marie and H. Psycho was when I was sober. And then, so I don't think it's that at all. But maybe at the time I was thinking, oh shit, I need to be fucked up to write.
Yeah, I think you kind of like create a character for yourself sometimes as well. Like I think, like camps, for example, for me, like I usually go to camps and I get smashed every night, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like the fun guy.
Yeah.
Not to say that I think that I am, but I don't know. It feels like this is what I'm kind of like. I haven't done a camp yet where I haven't drank, and I'm obviously not going to drink when I go to one. It's going to be interesting to see what the vibe is. But, you know, like I'll do camps, and then the 4th day in, you've been hammered every night and smoking cigarettes and stuff. And then you come to sing on like Thursday and you're like, I'll do it next week. I've got to set up at home. So, and you don't want to like, I think like how unproductive that is. I could be nailing awesome vocals all the time. And like you say, like when you write, when you're sober, you definitely are more, I think I'm more creative. It's you just get kind of messy when you drink. Well, I do anyway. Get messy when I'm drunk.
So when did things start getting for you like problematic? Like when did you start thinking like, I'm not really feeling that good, and maybe this isn't necessarily like good for me? It's
been quite a while. I think. Well, we when I did Eurovision and we wrote my Eurovision song.
We did. That's right.
Oh, I didn't realise you were involved.
Yeah, him and Sam produced it. So I think leading up to that, I didn't drink, which was good. But I had like a goal, and I was so busy, and my whole thing was like, you know, Eurovision.
Yeah.
And then after that, like, it obviously didn't go well for me, and I got like nil pie in front of 200 million people. And you'd gone from this whole thing of like being on telly every day, doing radio interviews all the time, to everything, to then nothing, literally no points and nothing happening. And then I think getting drunk became a bit unhealthy for me because I was like depressed, and then we got sued for waiting all night, like not long after that.
Really? What for? What for, am I saying?
We got some girl said that we stole it. We won. We didn't steal it. But that was like
that's heavy though.
Yeah, straight after Eurovision into getting sued. And then my dad passed away the year after, so it was like life was like bang, bang, bang.
Just a trilogy of fucking like.
And then I was like, I'm not, and then that led to the breakdown of my marriage and stuff. And I think I didn't deal with any of that well because I was boozing all the time. Not like, I don't think I was an alcoholic. I think I was just going out on the weekend or going out way too much and then not being able to deal with life and my problems because I'm feeling like shit for like 3-4 days. Then you feel better and you go out again and it's not really getting through any of your problems and stuff. So since then it's been like on my mind all the time. Like every time I've got drunk I'm like, you know, like you regret it and it's like it's been building up and building up and building up. So that was like the turning point, I think.
Yeah, man, it's heavy, isn't it? And I think like that's when alcohol almost becomes, rather than like this social enjoyment, it becomes like this tool and form of like escapism, right? Where you can go, this kind of makes me feel a little bit better and I don't know what else to do, like being there before. And like, I mean the Eurovision thing I remember, and I felt my like heart sink when it happened because I was like, you know, when it came up, I always believed in you. I wasn't ever really that sure on the song because I think there were quite a few songs in contention, weren't there, at the time? And I was like, well, yeah, and I think it was just unjust at that point in time. It was that post-Brexit, like, fuck the UK, wasn't it? And
I've always said, like, you know, as a songwriter, you don't know, like, what song's going to connect with people.
You don't.
Like, for me, it's like, you know, we thought we were doing the song that would connect with Europe. It didn't, and there's nothing you can do about it. And, like, you know, I had a great time doing it, but as well, it makes you feel so... like, oh my God, you know, like 200 million people thought you were shit.
I was going to ask with it, because was that your first, because obviously you had a lot of success as a writer, was that your first kind of step fully into public facing artistry?
Yeah.
On one of the biggest platforms in the world. So it must have been a real juxtaposition from studio to world stage.
Yeah, it went, I'd done some like features and stuff. I did like a song with Armin van Buuren that did pretty well, but that was the first time I'd done like, you know, like full on TV and radio interviews all the time, and then being on that massive stage. So it was like a massive learning curve. It was kind of like what was it, a baptism of fire, like everything in one go, and then it was like whoa, you know, like it was kind of like training camp. So I kind of like did what most artists do over like a few years, all in like 6 months. And I did it twice because obviously in 2020 when I was meant to be doing it, COVID happened, it got cancelled.
Oh shit.
So then I re-entered the 2021 with our song.
Yeah, shit.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you had all that expectation, all that build,
twice,
had that taken away, and then again. Jeez, man.
So like in COVID, that was all happening through COVID and stuff. So it was mental. I mean, I think I'm the only person to have been. It got cancelled, like, you know, that year. You know, we're the only people who.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so obviously it's pretty tough going on the back of that, and like you say, you know, passing away of parent and just the whole realm of shit. And like how, you know, I guess maybe with a bit of hindsight, relationship wise, because I know like previous relationships for me, now having 2 years of sobriety, I look back and I go, I really was the problem.
Honestly, I was thinking about this on the way here, actually, about kind of relationships and stuff, and it really was me in my relationship, because I couldn't deal with stuff, and I was just getting pissed and like not being the person in the relationship who my wife needed me to be, you know, like, and I don't know, I was, you know, because when you're drunk, you're kind of like in a false state of like, you know, you're not being honest, and then you'd wake up the next day and be depressed. You'd be like a totally different person. You'd be like moody, you didn't want to talk, eating bad food, laying on the sofa, like, ugh. And like, that's not really like, you know, giving someone like a happy life, is it? You know, if you're, and I wasn't making myself happy as well. So I look back and I think, you know, without booze, things probably would have been a lot different, I would like to think.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? But we can't ever regret the stuff that's happened, right? Because it's then and this is now, and you know, you've obviously, you know, 2 months into this journey, and we'll get onto that shortly. But what was the sort of pivotal moment for you? Because I know, like, we've talked about it, like, we've known each other quite a long time now, and I think even the last like couple of years, I know you sort of like dipped in and out a little bit and gone, you know, have you done like a kind of I remember if you did like Dry Jan or something. I remember we were talking before where you've done like little stints here and there. What was it that kind of made you think, I'm gonna this is it, let's have it?
It's been on the cards for a long time. When you guys started doing this podcast, I messaged you and I was like, oh, that's amazing, because like I've the idea of it is it's amazing, isn't it? You think, oh, I'm going to go sober and like it's going to be great, my life's going to be awesome, and then it's like, oh, but then what about that thing that's coming up? And it's like, okay, well, I'll do that, and then I'll go sober, and it's like, and then there's always a reason to not start. And it was 2 months ago, whatever, I'd been out like 3 nights in a row on the Isle of Wight, just with some friends and stuff, and Sunday morning woke up and we went for like a roast, and I had like a few drinks at like 11:30 because we were going for an early lunch, and like I'd smoked like 30 Marlboro Golds, and I was like, walking back from the pub to my house, which is near the beach, like down the beach, like couldn't breathe basically. I was like and I felt awful, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I live by the beach.
I was about to say, you've got like this.
Yeah,
beautiful...
I'm like in this amazing place with my dog, me and him, like living the dream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, like feeling awful. And I was like, this is it. Like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I've had enough. Like, I was really, I felt really unhappy. And the only reason I felt unhappy is because I've been drinking loads. And I was like, why would I not try and make a difference? Because everything in my life is great apart from that. Like I've worked really hard to get to a good place in my life. I live in a nice place. I'm working hard in what I'm doing and stuff. So, and then the only thing that's letting me down is getting smashed. So that was the moment for me, really.
And what did that so from that moment you were like, right, that's it. What was your kind of first steps into sobriety, I guess?
First of all, I was like, right, I'm going to do 2 months and then see how I feel. And then after like a week, I was like, I can do 3 months. I'm going to do 3 months. So I've set my goal at 3 months. That was what I did first. And then I got in all the booze that was in the house, like in the fridge, there's some nice bottles of wine and like bottles of champagne on the shelf, took all them, put them in a box and put them in the shed, just so it's not like not looking at them.
Yeah.
And then I bought some like... non-alcoholic wine and put that on the shelf instead. Nice. And then I kind of got a load of like 0 beers and put them in the fridge, because like I live by the ocean, by the sea, and it's sunny, and like it's kind of the lifestyle down there is based around like going out on a boat and having a drink.
Yeah, it's taunting you, isn't
it?
Yeah,
and you can sit in the garden and see the sea, and like I think, well, if I've got those tools, like to be able to like have a cold beer on a sunset evening, then I think that's like half the battle won for me. So yeah, it was just like, and then like planning like what I was going to do in that time. Like, I've started doing CrossFit, which has been awesome, because like I was doing CrossFit when I was drinking, but like I was starting again every Monday.
Yeah.
I'd get to Friday, and well, they do a session on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and it's like a group thing, and you're in teams, and you'd feel awesome. And you'd be like, oh, I can't wait till Monday. Then you go out on Saturday and get steaming.
Yeah.
And then Monday morning, I would bail, and I'd be eating crap food all day, and it'd take me till like Wednesday to go again. And then I'd do like 3 days. It was just like a cycle. It was just like so boring. So I was like, right, I'm going to smash CrossFit like at least 4 times a week. I'm going to like stick to a good food plan. I'm going to treat myself on a Saturday, but it's not going to be like going out and binging on pints. Because like I've got no like off switch either. Like if I'm going out to the pub to drink beers, I'll be like, right, let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bang, bang, because I love it.
Yeah.
And I like getting rowdy, but that is the short time of fun for that 2 hours or whatever. For the whole week to be ruined, my life just to be a mess after. So you got to put in perspective what you actually want from your life. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
And there isn't a party. There's not a pub. There's not a club. There isn't an event I haven't been to, or a conversation I haven't had, like when I've been boozing. Like I've done it all. I feel like I've done enough anyway to
completed
like,
it.
Yeah, I feel like I've done enough to be like, okay, that's what drinking's like when you do this. But I don't know what it's like to wake up like you guys. You go on a stag do sober. I don't know what it's like to wake up 7 a.m. sober and like go for a nice walk on a stag do. Or
trust
like,
me, when you do it, you will be like, I am so great.
Yeah, because someone said you never regret in the morning not not drinking. Like, obviously at the time, it's probably really tough, like the night before or whatever. And you're like, oh, because I've had a few moments when I've been like, I could really, really drink a beer now. But obviously, just clinging onto the 0 beers, like, come on.
Yeah.
And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God. Like, it's like...
Mate, mornings, like we talk about it, the season 3 finale of like, the mornings are the things you have to really, really soak in and enjoy. And I think something that the previous guest has said is like, even in the notes section on your phone, like when you wake up on that sort of Sunday morning and the sun's out and you can write down like, this is how I'm feeling right now and keep those notes. On that Saturday, when you do get that like temptation in the pub, you can kind of just look and be like, that's what I'm living for. Because, you know, you might text your mates you've been out with, no one would be up for hours. And you could have, you know, done a nice like walk down the beach or like, you know, done whatever. And it's so nice. Like we talk about it a lot. And
Mate, I fucking love it. I feel like yesterday I woke up at 5, I couldn't sleep. So I just got up and went for a run. And then I'd like, again, went and got a coffee. I was like working, I think I was texting you, working on my laptop, doing a bunch of work for the podcast and my normal like day job. And at 9 a.m. I was like, my to-do list is done.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a
Then
nap.
I came into London, did meetings, and then went for dinner. And I was like, I've done like 3 days in one day. That's my favorite. I just think I'm so grateful for that time.
it's amazing. And like, yeah, we do our, since we did the Matt, I know we talk about this a lot, the Matt Willis episode, but he talked about the gratitude list.
Yeah.
We do it every morning. And it's like normally somewhere between like 5:45 and 7, we send it to each other. And it's like those things that you're really grateful for, because it's such a good way to like start the day, isn't it? Actually just taking a minute to go, even if you feel knackered or, you know, had a shit day at work or something hasn't gone your way, to be like, what am I grateful for? We send it to each other, and it's such a good way to like start the day.
That sounds amazing. So you kind of like type it out and just send it to each other.
Yeah,
and say,
Mate,
like,
let's start a group.
Oh yeah,
We'll
I'd
do a
love to
gratitude
that.
group.
That
I'm
sounds
down for
great.
that, because Matt said that's what he started doing. He started adding people to his gratitude
That's
group.
awesome, mate. I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Because it's great, and it just makes you think, and it can be even the simplest things like, I'm actually really grateful for this coffee I've just had. Because sometimes like, now even that used to be like, fuck, I need a coffee to get through the day. Now I'm like, I just really enjoy it. And I'm like, it's amazing.
That's a good point. Like, it's like you're aware of things and you're not doing things to like recover. You're not like just trying to get through the day. Like, oh God, if I just do this, I can get through the day. You're like actually like living. I was thinking about this last night as well. Like, I always felt like I was like waiting or like I was waiting for an event to happen or trying to get to a certain point. And now I just feel like I'm just living my life every day, and it feels really like I feel like peaceful or something.
I fully agree with that. It's so interesting. I was always the next gig or the West Ham game or the thing in the future. And now often I don't really know what my diary's got for the next 2 weeks. I'm just like, oh, what's the next couple of days bringing? Which is lovely.
Yeah.
It's just definitely bringing you back to being more present, isn't it? I think that's what it allows you to do. So let's talk about this. You know, I'm really keen to get into how you've been feeling over this time period. So you've decided to quit. You kind of removed immediate temptation, packed your booze up, put it in the shed, got the zeros in. How did you, after 7 days, no drinking, how were you feeling in that first week?
Well, I instantly started feeling better because obviously I felt so rubbish on that Sunday. So by the next Sunday, I was like, oh, well, I feel like a million times better than I did last week.
Yeah.
So that was inspiring. I just felt like positive, really, and I felt like, you know, I'm doing it because I'd started, and I'd like, you know, the next weekend, I kind of stayed in because I didn't want to go like, oh, I'll go out and drink some 0 beers and then mess it up. So, but yeah, I was thinking, you know, like I went and met my mate the following week when I got back to the island, and it was like a sunny evening. And I was like, let's go and have a couple of 0 beers because there's a pub that does them on draft.
Nice.
Banging.
And I got like a vape, and I was excited about it, and I thought, because I'm a bit of a, you know, like I like chase dopamine, whether I want to.
Did you stop smoking at the same time?
Yeah, because like that's another reason. Because like as soon as I have one sip of beer, I'm like, I want to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's just double bad. Like, it's like if I drink a beer, I have to smoke 6, and it's like, come on, what are you doing to yourself? Like,
proper left-right combo.
yeah.
Isn't
I've
it?
also got like health anxiety, so it's so like,
Throw it all in. Come on, bring it on.
Yeah.
but no, it's like it's so stupid. Like you worry about like health and trying to be healthy, but yet you'll go and drink 10 pints, smoke 20 Marlboro Golds. It's just mental for me to think like that. Anyway, so And then we sat by the water. The sun was setting. Had like a couple of 0 pints and a vape. And I was like it gave me a dopamine hit. And then I drove home.
Yeah.
And then like had a nice dinner and woke up at like 6 a.m. It was awesome.
Which is even better. So how did you deal with? Have you told your like when you decided to go sober? Did you tell your like friends and family or like?
Yeah, I saw someone saying like make yourself accountable. So I obviously told my family. We were on like a group chat and just said like I'm gonna go sober, just to try and get healthy and just trying to cut it out and see what it feels like. And obviously like all my friends and stuff, and a lot of my friends like at my age are all like thinking about it as well. So like a lot of my mates have been like, oh, it's so inspiring because I've been putting it on my Instagram.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good way to be accountable as well.
Definitely.
Because people are like, oh, he's gone a bit quiet. So that's one way I've been doing it. And like loads of people have been messaging me saying like, oh, well done, like I've been sober for this long, or like I'm gonna do it, asking how I started. And I think that's awesome. You were mentioning before about like kind of passing it on.
Yeah.
And I think it's a nice thing to do because people are just getting inspired off other people. And like if you feel like you've done something that's going to help other people, I think that's important too.
Mate, definitely. It's like putting a flag in the sand. And, that's what we wanted to try and do and be like, actually, let's not make it such a fucking like subject you have to hide from. Just be like honest, be non-judgmental about it. Like, I work with Sam. He still drinks and he loves to drink. And he's been so supportive of me. Yeah, I've been supportive of him. But I think actually in time, it's like it's rubbing off on him as well. Like he can go to the pub now and we'll sit there and have a 0 with me.
Nice.
And like you ask someone like 3 years ago if I'd have been sober and Sam would be sitting in the pub having a 0 with me, and it'd be like, get fucked.
Yeah,
like, sorry.
That was quite shocking.
What
for me
nuclear
then.
fallout is this?
Yeah, what world are we living in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so yeah, there's like and I think it makes it possible for other people to be like, oh, there is actually a life that exists, an alternative life that exists without alcohol. Like, but for so many people, we just don't think that it exists. So, but yeah, no, I mean that's why we, it's been great why we wanted to get you on, because you were vocal about it on Instagram. We just thought, let's get into it and talk about it. So, what challenges have you found so far? Has there been any like real tough moments?
I think the tough moments are probably yet to come. Like weddings and stuff like that. Although I did go to a wedding once and didn't drink because I knew I would get hammered. And I had a really good time, sang at 9 p.m, sang Stand By Me or something, and then did one.
Thank you and good night.
Yeah, I know, exactly, literally like backdoored it.
You did, you went to Berlin though, right?
Yeah, so I went on a writing trip to Berlin.
How was that?
It was great because we were talking about German.
That's right.
German zeros.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like I found a few good ones, and like it was sunny as well. It was like 27 degrees, and I was like, this is going to be tough. We finished the session one night. I went to Berlin, then I went to Frankfurt, and it was Thursday, and it was like a German holiday, and the whole town was rammed, and there was like a food festival, and there was like bands playing, and it was like 26 degrees.
Basically Oktoberfest.
I know,
Yeah, you're like, why?
and it's like loads and loads of like beer killers and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my god! Like, and the guys I was writing with, I was like, should we go and sit in the square and I was like, I'll have a 0 beer, and I was like, they were drinking beers, and I was like, I could easily drink a beer right now, but I didn't, and I was just like clinging again to the 0 beers, and it actually like was a moment where I thought I'm still doing what I would do if I was drinking, and they finished drinking and then we all went our separate ways. It's not like I left early, we only sat there for a couple of hours, and I was thinking if I was drinking I would have been like, come on, like, and I'd have pushed it and pushed it, and I'd have been next thing would have been like on the tables and stuff like that.
In a lederhosen.
Yeah, exactly. and at that moment I thought like you can still do things without drinking and still have the same amount of fun, because up until a certain point, you're like, when you are drinking, like say if I just sat there and had 3 beers, it's about the same feeling as not, you're still getting that buzz from the crowd and stuff like that. So that was like a bit of a light bulb moment for me. And then there was the Sunday in Berlin. We all went to like the park, and then there's like again like another food festival and like a market and like bands playing and stuff. And it was really fun because no one else was really drinking. But I was thinking if I was drinking, I again would have probably drank quite a few beers. And then it's funny when you're not drinking, you look around and you realise that not everyone drinks that much.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who drinks a lot when I'm drinking.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, like.
Well, we noticed that like now in hindsight, don't necessarily want to speak for you, but like being the catalyst in the situation.
Mate, I was the fucking grenade. Like, honestly, I was like the Pied Piper of party.
Yeah.
I was a nightmare. I'd be like, right, come on, what pub are you? Do you
Yeah.
and then I'd find someone who had like a house and be like, what are you up to? They'd be like, I'm just going to go to bed. I was like, we're coming over.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like deliver a party to their house.
But then you remove yourself from that and you look back and go, everyone's getting way less fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm sober. You're like,
yeah.
oh,
The amount of times
shit.
I've said to my mates in the morning, I'm sorry, it was me. And like everyone, like people have gone, yeah, it was you. And then you start to think, okay, well, that's quite a serious thing, isn't it?
And it's tough though, because I think with that, I don't think I ever did that with like malicious intent. I just wanted to have a good time and thought everyone else was having a good time. But the reality is that, yeah, I was probably sending it like twice as hard. And then there's I could handle it ish, but what I feel guilty about now is that some people really couldn't. And that's the difficulty when someone then is in like an absolute pickle.
Yeah.
Because you were like, yeah, cool,
of you.
You forced it.
tequila.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I did the same. I mean, like, you almost had these, like, I remember, like, going out, whenever I used to go out with my pal, Alex, and then we'd try and round up people, and people would be like, oh, no, Hollings and Greeno are going out tonight. And then people would genuinely be like, I don't know if I can do it. Yeah, exactly. And you're like, people are actually making a decision not to come out based on the fact that me and him are going out together, knowing how fucking mental the night would be.
Grant
And you're
and
like,
Phil Mitchell.
and you're like, I'm like, Jesus, like, now looking back, I'm like, there's so many people that probably would have really enjoyed to come out had we not been such wreckheads. It would have just been nice to just hang out, but didn't. I'm like, God, what an idiot. But so now looking forward, so 3 months is the plan. Mm-hmm. Where do you think your head's at now? You're 2 months in.
I feel like I can't imagine wanting to drink right now, really. I can't see myself drinking again. I hope that, obviously, like, things happen or whatever, but I'm pretty much hoping that I can just keep going. Because I'd have thought, like, the Isle of Wight Festival's on soon. And at the start, when I'd first gone sober, I was like, well, maybe when I go to the Isle of Wight Festival, I'll drink. And then the other day I thought, like, actually, no, I really want to go and not drink. And I've got to this place in my head now where I think I can go, I'm excited to go to things and feel like I can go to it without drinking. Whereas before I'd be like, I can't go because I'll drink.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't want to do this because it's just drinking. Like, there's a picnic in the park on Sunday in Cowes and it's like bands and stuff. And usually I wouldn't go because I know that I'd get a bottle of wine or whatever. But now I'm like, I'm just going to go and have a good time.
Yeah. Mate, that's great. We talk about it quite a lot as well. Like for some people, it's just like, this is it. I'm never drinking again. For me, it was, I'm going to do 100 days.
Yeah.
And I think it almost is like tricking your mind and body in a certain extent, isn't it? Because I was the same when I stopped. I was like, I'll just do 100 days and then I'll have a summer. I can have it right off again. But then the more, like you're just saying about, the longer you kind of go on this journey and the more kind of experiences you have where you're like, doing things sober and actually really enjoying it, you think, oh yeah, maybe I can do that festival sober. And then you do 100 days and you go, oh, maybe I want to do 6 months now. And then you just keep kicking that bucket down the road, doing more and more stuff till suddenly suddenly the year for me went like that. And I was like, holy shit, I've done a year. And it was very opposite for me because I didn't feel good straight away. I felt fucking way worse. And I've talked about it before, but it was actually, you'd done a record with Armin. We went out to Ultra.
Oh, yeah.
And it was him because he's sober. He saved me with, like, I was like, I'm really struggling. I'm like 3 weeks in, just had COVID, just had my wisdom teeth pulled out, got the worst anxiety, and like, I'm trying not to drink. He goes, oh, I was like, I've got you. And then gave me some Heineken Zeros, did like the video and stuff. And then he properly looked after me that like that whole ultra period.
Yeah.
But it's just he saved me, definitely. I think if it wasn't for him, I would have drunk in Miami because it was so bad. But like, it's great that you guys both in your first like, for a lot of people, it's like bang straight away.
Smarmy
You're in.
prick.
Yeah.
Literally, I woke up one morning. You know that scene in Is It 500 Days of Summer where he has sex and the birds are all around him? That was me in sobriety. Week 1, I was just like, dun, 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 all these birds are like flying around.
That is me. I feel
And it's great that you guys have that, and so many people do have that, and I think it's a great like motivator for people to just keep going and seeing where it ends up.
There has been some moments where like my anxiety levels have been high, and I've been like, usually I would just get pissed, but like to escape. There's no escape, is there, of your brain? But I think pushing through it in the last week or so, it feels like I've like landed a bit or something.
Yeah. Do you feel like you can pinpoint the anxiety a little bit now? Because I think we talk about this a lot. When I was drinking and getting on it, I'd wake up feeling really anxious, but I could never figure out if it was like work, relationship, money, stress, football, whatever it was. Whereas now, anxiety doesn't go, but I'm like, oh, it's probably this thing. And then you can kind of address it. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed that I'm like less depressed and more able to deal with problems as they come. Because obviously, like, quitting drinking doesn't stop problems happening, but it makes
Life is still shit.
but it makes it easier to deal with them problems and not like hide from everything, like not wanting to like get out of bed because you're like, oh no, and then I'm gonna have to deal with this and that, and it's like, right, you're like, come on, you like feel positive. And I've not, and I think you can notice like when the anxiety comes and the anxiety goes because you're kind of clear headed, if that makes sense. Like it's not like clouded with alcohol or clouded being pissed or clouded being hungover. It's like, okay, I'm anxious because this has happened, or and then I can fix it better. Like I do cold water swimming and jump in the sea and stuff like that, and that instantly clears my mind. And I'm not trying to always now feel better from recovering from boozing. I'm just being able to like go, well, I can feel better from this anxiety by getting in the sea. And it's not like getting back to ground level.
Yeah.
You're like starting from ground level up.
Yeah. That's the beautiful thing I think with sobriety is like we talk about this kind of linear feeling of it, but you said something really apt the other day that even though your emotions aren't as up and down as they used to be, that line is still gradually going up. And I feel that like my base level moves from minus 100 to then probably 0 within the first few months, and then now it's just chipping up. And my base level most days is probably starting at like 50-60% now, which is lovely because you're only going up from there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean we did talk about it last week. The highs definitely aren't as high now, but I think like we call it my drinking career. I've had enough. I've had enough highs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
but were they real highs though? I was thinking about this the other day, right? Like that notion of falling in love with music again in sobriety, and I thought about all the gigs I've been to this year sober that I've genuinely loved and got that like high versus me like
real experiences,
hoofing a load of gear.
Yeah. What is the high? Like, is the high for me going to the pub and having 10 pints and shouting and being like, whoa? Is that a high, or is it like, I don't know, like going for an amazing walk on the beach at sunrise? Is that a high instead? I think.
Mate, you're asking the right questions.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, I saw a quote by like Cillian Murphy saying, "My life is simple. I walk my dog. I cook nice food. I watch movies and I listen to a lot of music." And they said like, and hang out with my kids, but I don't have kids. But I was like, that's amazing. And then for the last week, I've just been really indulging in doing the same thing. And it's like, those to me are now highs. Like, and also like hanging out with your mates and like having a laugh. Without being pissed, you can. It's still the same, which I've been doing a lot as well. So it's been awesome so far.
Fucking love that,
mate. That's great. And
it's nice to see it in you as well. Like I can see. We don't know each other, but I can just see there's like positivity. Like
yeah, mate, you're looking really well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I mean, we say this to everyone. Like you can
for a 3:30 alarm.
Yeah, for a 3:30 alarm.
You're like you wankers.
But no, you can see the light in your eyes. You know, and it's like,
you do notice that with people who don't drink, they always seem a bit more like sprightly.
Yeah.
Or smug.
Got a bit of a sparkle. So cool. I think it might be time for the the big old 3. So, number 1, for anyone that's thinking of going on a journey of sobriety, what would your biggest piece of advice be so far?
Don't kind of like overstretch yourself. Like, be realistic with your goals. Like, kind of say to yourself, like I said before, like, just set like 3 months or 2 months, and then kind of keep chipping away. Don't be like, that's it, I'm never drinking again, because I feel, for me, I would fail doing it that way.
Nice.
That's very good. What's the single best thing that sobriety has brought you so far?
More time, mornings, getting up early and having a full day of my life.
It's great. Time is like one of the things that a lot of people, everyone says who goes sober. It's like, I call it the 8th day in the week.
Yeah, you're getting up at 5, 6.
Or half 3.
Or half 3. I'm getting on a car ferry.
No, that's great.
No, getting up that early, it's like, and just like living and not feeling rough. It's great.
Yeah. Love it. And finally, we would love James now to write Drunk James a letter. So if you could say, Dear James, what would you say to him?
Dear James, before you down that 4th lager in the last half an hour, think about what you actually want from your life, and think about the things that you love, which is the outdoors, your dog, and being creative and just trying to live a healthy, long life. And like, is it worth this night out? Is it worth these temporary highs and this, basically, something that you've done over and over again? Is it worth it? I think that's what I'd say.
That's great, man. That's great.
I love it. Well, man, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
thanks for
been
coming on,
amazing and a really enlightening listen, I think, for our guests. So
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and talking about this so openly and relatively early on in the journey, and good luck. We'll add you to our gratitude.
Oh yeah, get me on
let's
that.
do it,
Get me on the
baby.
group.
Get on there, mate. Yeah, we will. It's good. It really does like frame the day for you in a really positive light, and it's more accountability.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Cool.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you.